on my desk.
We're live.
Damon, you ready?
I'm ready.
Hey,
I was looking
Damon.
back. I did a bunch of cleaning in our house. We're getting ready for Christmas. So I was like, did I have stuff?
I was going to go over. It's Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, well, we're pretty darn close. So
Monday morning.
Happy Monday. Damon, Manufacturing Monday Motivation is here. It's December 5th. We are live. How was your weekend, dude? What's today? Isn't it the 5th?
Yes, it is. It was great. We were able to, Kurt, remember the pictures we took? Not last summer, but the summer before. Last time we got together, we did some other stuff around Halloween. But the summer before, when you were up here, we were able to go to the Crabtree Restaurant, Kitchen and Bar, whatever it's called, and look at their chocolate factory and the e-commerce all over there. And we were able to go over there on Saturday again, and it did not disappoint. I'm telling you, if you have ever thought about a destination liquor store, it is that. Because I listened to one of the owners tell me about we were going to select some tequila, and he was able to help me select a fine tequila that was actually by, I think, the country music singer George Strait. Who owns the tequila company.
Nice.
But I mean, it's just
ex is living.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and I digress because we're here to talk with Gail.
Well, so we are here to talk, Gail. So but let's, on one last note on that, they call it like the Disneyland for adults. It's absolutely so what you have to do, guys, you have to go to Seattle. You've got to stop by and say hi to Damon. Damon's going to take you to the ferry, go across the Puget Sound, and there's a place Damon and I went to. It's called Crabtree. It was a client of mine in 2021. It's a chocolate manufacturer, and they also have it's like a 15,000 square foot liquor store. And I wouldn't say liquor store is not doing it justice.
No.
And it's a high class restaurant. It's just an amazing, incredible facility. So Damon, you got to hang out there this weekend with the wife. What a great weekend, huh?
Yeah.
And you mentioned a word chocolate and tequila, because you know that I said, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I could be your shot of tequila.
Oh, God, I didn't even realize that. That's awesome.
Awesome. Drop the mic. So, all right, guys, let's dig in. So, hey, if you're out there, happy Monday. Hope you had an amazing, wonderful weekend. Hope you got your holiday shopping done like my dear friend Whitney. How about Whitney? Kind of a show off, right? So, good morning to Whitney. She got her holiday shopping done. And so big round of applause for Whitney.
Good job.
We got Dan Bigger here. So, we've got the one, the only, the man, Mr. Process himself is here. So, guys, drop us a note. You want to connect. I don't know if she needs an introduction or not, but it is Gail now time right now. So, Gail, happy Monday to you. How are you?
I am great. It is a happy Monday. I actually love Mondays because Mondays to me are filled with like hope. It's this white slate that just awaits, right? So yeah, I do like Mondays. And yeah, because it's like lots of energy at the start of the week.
Yeah.
So and I love, of course, Monday motivation.
That's right. So here we are, and what a great word. Our theme today is going to be hope. I just had to type up this big thing today, and it was all about hope. And so what a great segue, Gail. So, all right, let's dig in. I got a few questions for you. I want to kick off with number one. First and foremost, are you sitting down, Gail? It looks like you're sitting. All right, you sitting down for this one? All right, first question. You might know where I'm going here. You ready? Gail, little girl growing up, you've had just such an amazing career. We're going to talk about you being a recovering journalist. We're going to dig into that. I want to talk about your bed and breakfast. That was really fascinating, how this translates and how you bring your superpowers to helping manufacturers and all sorts of amazing people that you help. When you were a little girl growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero growing up that just brought this dynamic, wonderful, amazing individual that we get to cherish every day? Who was your hero growing up?
Well, there's been probably a few, but I'm going to pick one person, especially as I reflect back. And that would be, I'm going to say my mom. Because my mom, I realize now how much of an influence and a lot of the decisions she made and guidance she gave me at the time. I thought she was mean. I thought she was tough. And now I look back and go, oh, and she was the person that came with me. She showed up. She came with me to every speaking contest I was in. When I was in plays, she showed up. I remember one time I was in this play. She didn't know my part, and I said this great line with I was shucking corn behind the barn with some, and then this woman slaps me across it, and I could hear a, and it was my mom, right? So yeah, my mom was definitely someone who's had probably a greater impact as I get older, and now that I'm a mom, I realize like, okay, moms are so important. Plus, the other thing is, especially, I think about like when you come out of someone's body, like that's so powerful, right? When you think about like, even I tell my son, like, you're part of me, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of connected, whether you like it or not. So
Yep.
what's mom's name?
Joyce.
Joyce. Well, hey, big shout out and big hello to, and a big thank you to our friend Joyce. And I'll tell you what's fascinating, maybe it's just part of like that whole, I'm not using the word aging. We're just maturing. We're getting more experience, more seasoned. But that famous line, I love that line. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And the thing is, that teacher might have been there when we were, a teenager, maybe in college, maybe in our 20s, but it just took us a few decades to finally get that message that they were delivering. So even though the student wasn't quite ready when that message was delivered, I love what you're saying, because now it's just really resonating. Aha, now I finally got it. Man, I wish we had the wisdom to take in that advice back in the day, right?
And my mom has passed on. She passed on before my son was born, but I do see my mom in my son, and I know she's listening. She's around me, and believe me, there's times my son will say things, and I'm like, that's my mom coming out of him.
Right. Well, hey, we got some awesome people here. Jamon's here today.
Yeah.
Hey, my friend, how are you? And how about back to the Christmas shopping? What a relief to have it done. Now, Dan asks, don't you normally go on Christmas Eve?
Yeah,
Absolutely, Dan. We'll see you. I'm right there with you, brother. So, hey, we've got Janny here, Janny in Michigan. We've got my dear friend Val is here today. So, hey, guys, Katie McDermott. Oh, man, just lots of love to everybody here. Thank you for joining us. We have a dynamic conversation here. Everybody knows Gail now. So, Gail, let's talk. For anybody that's, I can't imagine anybody that's new to you, but anybody that's doesn't know your full history, let's go into. So, we talk about Joyce, your mom. Boy, you kicked off your career as a journalist, I think Toronto Star, then Windsor Star. And and you are the queen of curiosity, the queen. You're synonymous with curiosity, and obviously you'd be a good reporter. And I think you have it right in your bio. You're like, hey, to be a great reporter, you need to ask not only just good questions, the right questions. Talk about like, how can we be better question askers? How is that even a word? How can we be better?
Sure, it can be. You know what? The thing is that it's about asking questions, then also asking more follow-up questions. And, my process, which I tie into curiosity, which is sign up, suit up, and show up. So the sign up part is the mindset. You have to really have that mind, which also includes an open mind. And then the suiting up is the research. So whenever I'm going to do an interview, or if I'm working on a project, that's where you have to look for information. And that's how you develop that curiosity muscle. And not just looking in one place. So I don't only rely on Google, because Google does also, you're not going to find everything on Google. I know people think you do, but it's one perspective. Same thing with mainstream media, which is where I came from. And where I'm seeing now, we need to also look at, trade publications, alternative media, social media, and get that diversity of information. And when you're doing that, that's when you really dig into being truly curious. And then showing up is then taking it to next level, which is sharing your story, because that's how we, expand and grow, is when we start to share our own stories. And in manufacturing, sadly, a lot of people don't want to share, because usually sometimes fear, sometimes uncertainty, and yet they have these great stories. And so, yeah, that's where I encourage manufacturers, but others as well. I think everyone needs to get out of their own way and celebrate who they are and what they're doing. So in terms of how do you develop curiosity? Well, use those 3 steps and look in more than one place for answers.
Absolutely. I love it. So, hey, you've got some nice shout outs here. So I think you know this one, right? I think you know,
yeah.
you know Ingar. And of course, like David Chrysler. Hey, how about this one? We might have a new name right here on
The
Manufacturing Monday
Queen of
Motivation.
Curiosity.
You know, great little ring to it. So, hey, and I think I saw Diane Byers here.
Diane
another
Byers here.
our friend from, we've got Channing and we've got Diane from TAC today. So
Yeah.
great Monday. So again, guys, if you're not already connected with Gail, it's kind of shocking if you're not, but man, you want to connect with Gail here, drop us a note, let us know that you're with us. And so, Gail, let's take it another step further. So we're talking about curiosity and really understanding that consumer behavior, if you will. I want to get into the bed and breakfast experience because I love. I mean, when you think about what is more tasking than like somebody sleeping and then like like you wake up and you're hungry, you're hangry, right? Like, how do you talk about your experience as a bed and breakfast owner and how that's translated into your expertise today as the curiosity queen?
Well, I often refer to my time running a bed and breakfast. That was my MBA because I learned about inventory. I learned about ordering items. I learned about cleaning. So I did janitorial, custodial work. I did it all. I did preparation. So I had to look up recipes. And I learned a lot about the branding because I talked about my famous biscuits. So my bed and breakfast was home of Gail's famous biscuits. Now it was my mom's recipe. And the first year I made them, I thought, and again, this is where you have to remember, get rid of that perfection. Because I thought, oh, they seemed heavy. They weren't like my mom's, but I served them. And all of a sudden people were raving about them. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, but they're not like my mom's. They're not all fluffy.
Right.
So over time I did research and eventually each year they got better and better, but people started talking about, like when they'd arrive on the island, they're like, oh, when I say my name of the bed and breakfast, they go, do you know Gail? And I'm like, well, that's me. So that's where I learned about the power of branding and the power of telling your story. I own that story that I shared, and then people took it upon themselves. And when people were sitting around the table in the morning, they were all start sharing their story of a famous biscuit, a famous bread, and it brought back memories.
Yeah.
So see, now from a branding perspective, people connected staying at my bed and breakfast with these warm memories. So and obviously I was the first person to have a 1-800 number, not that kind of 1-800 number.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I had I started a website and I learned all about, and then I started asking, this was going back a while, right? So the early 2000s. And I would ask other organizations to put a link. Like, I didn't even know what that was at the time, but I said, hey, would you and they would say yes without charging me. Yeah. So bed and breakfast was a very big part of my life in terms of directing me on, and this was even before I really got into marketing.
Right.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Let's go into the biscuits one more step. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like making the biscuits. So what's great, they always say like music, like for those of us of a certain age, maybe, or whatever age you are, you hear a song and it brings you back, Damon, like when you hear ZZ Top song, brings you back to the days in the 80s. Right.
Yep.
And it's also like your taste buds. And how often when you travel, you're like, hey, how was the weather? How were the people? How was the food? Right. So like you're really branding yourself as, the biscuit lady. Right. And just creating that environment. Talk about like, people go through challenges. Maybe at your bed and breakfast, they're sick. They're not at their best moods. Maybe they're, arguing with a spouse. Like, how did you handle like that face to face? It's one thing as a manufacturer, where like if somebody's upset and you get a bad email and I have a moment to respond, or somebody calls me. When you're running that bed and breakfast, I mean, like you had to be like on the spot, putting out fires, challenges, all sorts of, I can't imagine. I'm sure you have thousands of stories. How was that like dealing with folks, face to face on a daily basis like that?
Well, it is very much like any business, and especially manufacturing. It's all about customer service and developing that know, like, trust. So I wanted to build that relationship from the first time, from the phone call. So when I would take messages, or when my niece worked for me, like we'd always put notes about the person. So before they arrived, I would remember things about them. And the other thing is, we would do extra touches in the one room, leaving a plate of some cookies out. And, if you have good customer service, that is going to overcome a lot of other difficulties. But the other thing is, you don't want all comers. And I learned this very early on, because the first year, like, I'll take it. Then I went, nope. So if someone called and said, can we, make food and use a barbecue? And I'd like, you know what? I have another. So I'd recommend this other place. And one time I sent, like, it was a big group to down the street. But then the next call I got like 3 couples booked in. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the other key thing, is knowing like who your audience is, right? And I knew who mine was. And then I also had, I remember one woman came and, okay, it was Peely Island. So there's a lot of bugs and, you know, spiders and things. So from the time cleaning in the room to the time check-in, and she got in later check-in, there was a spider web in her room, and she was incensed at this. She was from Toronto, I think. And so she started like this the whole time, right? And I was like, I looked at her and I said, is there anything that would make you happy? And she kind of went, no one ever called her on her stuff. Yes, basically. So I did, because I thought, and I said, if you would like, I will give, if you want to look for somewhere else, I will repay. Anyway, it was like almost like something got her attention. After that, she was a great guest. I had no other problems. But you sometimes have to just, like, as much as you provide good customer service, you can't please everyone. And sometimes you just have to call it out.
I absolutely love it. Ingor says, know your audience. And Damon, real quick, you know, Bonnie's here. Bonnie, happy Monday to you.
Bonnie's here. Hello, Bonnie.
Oh, yeah.
I have a story. I'll have to talk to Bonnie about the whole I connect with her about the whole blood sugar thing and everything. So she's amazing.
Well, you know, when you told that person that, I just want to back up to that. Sometimes we all need a little reset, because they're at your B&B to enjoy themselves. You're trying to help them enjoy themselves. And some of us, without even knowing it, will spiral down the negative.
Yep.
And if you can stop somebody from doing that, I think that's a great service, and they'll appreciate you for doing that after the fact, maybe, but they'll appreciate it.
That's I think cool. She was she was taking out over, it wasn't about the spider web, right?
Yeah.
And I think she realized, because I was trying to accommodate and be nice. And I said, sometimes you have to be kind, not always nice.
Yeah.
And being kind was like, I'm drawing my line in the sand here, because you know what? This won't go well if you keep nattering at me. Like, you're not getting my biscuits.
And no biscuits for you.
That's the moral of the story right there, guys. If you have a challenging customer, like Katie says, just deliver Gail's famous biscuits.
Yes.
And of course, Ingor, she had a good line here somewhere. She said, you know, hey, don't be on Gail.
I shouldn't. It was just sometimes people, they would think it was going to be like Niagara in the Lake. And Peely Island, it's very much more rustic. It's, you know, there's a lot of bugs and fish flies, and depending what time of year you come. So you really have to know where you're going to travel to. And some people
don't go into the country to get the Manhattan experience.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, all right. So let's slide into storytelling, Gail. So let's talk about, again, so, you know, we all, most everybody here, again, thank you guys for joining us today. Boy, what an honor, privilege. Love the chat box. Connect with Gail.
So cool.
Keep the comments coming. Any questions for Gail, sharing her expertise, her passion, all sorts of fun stuff today. So Gail, let's talk about storytelling. So for manufacturers, like you said, you know, it can be a little bit vulnerable, you know, so if I'm like, hey, Gail, I hear you. I'm excited about this. I want to try to be a storyteller. What's TMI versus what's enough? Like, you know, hey, when I was in kindergarten, I was playing kickball one day. Like, you know, talk a little bit about like some of the successful storytelling strategies that you like to share with your clients, with your folks, for our folks out there today.
Well, the best place to start is start what you know. And before you have to get into sharing anything, like I always tell people you don't need to do what I do, because on my social, people know I do my TikToks and like I have fun and I like goof around, but that's my personality. So it's not out of my comfort zone to do that. But what I say to other people is like, start talking about a project you're working on. It can be work related. Don't even think about sharing anything about personal or what you do outside of work. Just share a story. Share a story of how you solved a problem. Don't sell, but instead share, you know, what works. And the other thing when I work with clients is that they always know they have the answer. My job is to help them pull that out of the stack, right? Because when they're sharing different ideas. Here's a little story of my son. He said he's in a play this week, and this kind of I did a tweet about this because I had asked him, I said, oh, what's the name of the play? And it's just for school, but he invited me. Feel very privileged. So, and he said,
nice.
and I said, oh, what's the name of it? And he said, oh, it's just our own play. The class all chipped in and wrote it. And he said, so there's no official name. So I said, wrote back, I said, okay, my marketing brain says you need a name. So I said, how about no official name? He goes, I love it. So it's going to be no official name. Name. So, and that got me thinking, see, I just pulled out the answer from what he told me.
Yeah.
And sometimes keep it simple, right? Sometimes we want to overcomplicate things. So in terms of sharing your story, just start somewhere. Start with no official name.
No official name. Drop the mic on that one, right?
Just boom. Right
no
there.
official name. So,
No
all right, Gail, so let's slide into this. So, recovering journalist, bed and breakfast owner. Now you are delivering your superpowers, making the world a better place with helping manufacturers. Exactly what we're talking about here. Being curious, storytelling, not being judgmental. Why manufacturing? Why is manufacturing so blessed to have Gail's expertise, talent, superpowers? What attracted you to manufacturing?
Well, really, it was about, again, back to relationships and about networking and connecting. Much like I went from journalism into running bed and breakfast, came out of there, didn't know what next. So I ended up being a fundraiser for a culture and recreation complex. And then the person on the campaign board hired me. Well, I actually went and pitched him on top 10 reasons why he should hire me.
Nice.
And I went into there 11 years. And see, it is about owning your power too. And I think over time, so then from there, a lot of changes were coming out about they were selling. So I decided to go in and have a chat and say, listen, I'll stay until you sell. Yeah. And then how about we come up with an agreeable package and I will stay to the end, tie up everything. And then I'm going to go start my own business. And that's what happened. So I sort of transitioned and I never really stopped. I went right from they actually even allowed me to do some double dipping. I was working on this other project with their blessing. And so I stayed to the end. Then I went right out. I worked with PGA Canada golf event. Yeah. Then I had a few other gigs and got into manufacturing by through a door getting opened and me meeting with Brian Bendig of Cavalier Tool. And we connected. He had a snake in his office and I love snakes. And I think he thought maybe like, nah, she wasn't really. I'm like, oh, can I? And I put it on my neck and I think he was waiting for me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Just leave me here. So we became instant friends over that. And so I keep evolving. And that is actually part of my next journey, which I'm working on right now, is going back to my roots, because I really feel we're missing so much right now, especially in terms of mainstream media and what's messaging that isn't really getting out. And that ties into manufacturing as well, because manufacturing has, especially the people behind the scenes, and I've been working in, the people that make things. So in mold making, molders, tool makers. So, but I also have an interest. My niche is my diversity of interests. So I'm planning on working on a bit of a passion project to help tell the stories that don't always make it into mainstream and don't always get in the spotlight. And that will involve interviewing people. So going back to my roots as a journalist and interviewing people about their why and how they are also doing things to change the world on deadline. That was my mantra when I left university. I thought journalism was going to be about changing the world, about being a fifth estate, asking questions, asking the tough questions. I'm seeing that not happening as much in some mainstream. So time to roll up my sleeves and get curious.
Nice. So are we starting a new network, like the Gail network, or what are we talking here?
It's kind of going down the road. Yep. I'm I already have my, my Gail now and my Be Curious, Not Judgmental. I'm starting to, that came about through watching Ted Lasso. And when we are curious,
I love it.
We can't be as judgmental. And unfortunately, we're seeing, and again, the whole media landscape is changing as well. And the other thing that's been weighing on me is this polarization of views, right? We have these extremes, and it's not, you talked about hope, right? Hope at the start of the hour here. And we need more hope. We need more kindness. And I don't mean kindness in a, let's all be nice. And we need to truly be kind to ourselves, to our planet, to each other. And we've lost, like, people now are saying if they disagree with you about something politically, oh, you know, I'm going to block you. I don't want to follow you. Like, don't come to Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
And that is not healthy. And
No.
yeah, we need to make
it. Yeah. Yeah. And just like you said, if you're curious and not judgmental, you don't know why somebody says what they say, why they act the way they do. You have no idea until you really understand. And it takes curiosity to understand, because even at the point that you may disagree with whatever causes them to be, you at least understand at that point. Yeah. And you go, it's like there's no way everyone's going to agree, but better understanding will allow us to come up with better solutions and just better society to be able to live with each other. Holy heck.
And I've in all my days as a journalist, and I'm shocked sometimes to hear other media people say this, but like, I am not in favor of censorship. And I think, especially over the last couple of years, censorship has not been a good thing for our world. Now, there's all sorts of, we need limits, yes, but as soon as you suppress, and I said, once you suppress anything, suppress views, beliefs, it'll come out another way. And we're seeing that. I mean, back in the day when I was in journalism too, a lot of media said, you know, the web would be I lived through that. So I have firsthand experience. I remember being told social media, the web was all like, it was going to be a passing fad. And media dug in, print media especially dug in. And now we're coming to see, guess what? There's other alternatives to go get your news, and people are using them. And I just heard this from a very high level, someone connected to high level print media, is that the next thing is going to be like nonprofit media organizations. You're going to start to see more of these people delivering news. And I'm already seeing that. I know in Canada here, we're seeing it with a few of those alternative media popping up too.
Well, speaking of alternative media, I guess Damon, this is kind of an exclusive right here, if you will.
Yeah.
So
it is. And I love
Gail Now Network. GNN. I like that.
Is coming out right here. But you know what? I'm gonna backtrack. So Bonnie says, I love behind the scenes storytelling. Let's get back into that storytelling. Then we've got a question here, and I apologize, I'm not sure who. Do you have a process in place to collect feedback on your product? So what do you think about that question, Gail? Do you have a process?
Feedback on which product? Now, do you mean like a process to collect feedback on? I guess I just want a bit more clarification, whether like my feedback to me or feedback. I think the question is there a process to collect feedback from people? Now, there are processes out there, and I'm not really equipped to say exactly. I'm going to take a little sidestep here, but if the person wanted to get DM me, I know there are different other platforms that you can gather, you know, information, social listening through people, you know, commenting online. So if that's the question, there are platforms out there. And yeah, that would be.
So let's, that was perfect. And again, whoever dropped that comment, if you want to continue on.
Yeah, me, because I don't see the name. So yeah.
Or drop Gail a note. We'd love to have that conversation. But Gail, so let's talk a little bit more about storytelling. So you mentioned Cavalier Tool. You're doing a great job there. I tell you, in the past couple of years, it's been an honor, privilege becoming friends with you. You're a dear friend of our show. I know when I can always take a vacation with my family, and you slide in. You have your weekly LinkedIn Live. You did a great, amazing jam session. I think, was it back in the spring? Damon, you were a guest. Ray Zagano on your show. Yeah. So you're just really just a fierce advocate for manufacturing. You're a connector, bringing people together. So let's talk about that storytelling. As you're advising folks, your Cavalier Tools, other folks that you're working with on that storytelling, let's take it a step further. Okay. So a manufacturer, they're out there, they're like, man, I'm really enjoying this. I like what you're saying. I still want to go. This is brand new to me. I still want to go a little bit further. So they start, okay, like maybe the story about the company, story about some of the employees, maybe story about your services, your proprietary process. What are some other things that you can tie in like with that storytelling to help those manufacturers like really get momentum and connect with those ideal buyers by sharing their story?
Well, the best thing I usually recommend people to do is to start a file where they collect stories, right? Stories that are
Mm.
happening on the shop floor, stories that are happening with staff,
Mhm.
and they're often very simple. And here's the best news for anybody listening that's going like, because usually the first thing I hear is, well, everybody does that. Well, everybody may be doing it, but not everybody is talking about it. Not everybody is
Yes.
sharing those stories. So
Yes.
the best thing to do is to start with your story, because no one, even if someone else down the road is doing something very similar,
Mhm.
no one is doing exactly to what that company is doing. And Cavalier is a great example of that. Now, it just so happens that it's led by someone like Brian Bendig, who has like a
Mhm.
pretty brilliant mind in terms of he looks around corners, but he also, one of the lessons early on I learned from him is he said, like, when it comes to recession or even during COVID, he just not buying into it. It's like there's work to be done. And when you're diversified, even during COVID, guess what? They do a lot of, they don't only do automotive. So people were still needing big totes. People were still
Mhm.
needing ATV. People were buying still those big
Mhm.
ticket items. So, you know, going back to your question of stories, it's
Mhm.
about just starting with your individual story and not getting in your mind that other people are doing it, or it's, you know, it's going to be boring. The other thing is keep it simple. I've
Yeah.
dealt with this. Sometimes they're like, well, that seems so simple. You have to remember you're writing sometimes for the client, sometimes for the algorithm, and sometimes because it's not only, a lot of times in manufacturers, they think the only person reading this is the engineer, the person that they're dealing with. Well, guess what? You're being vetted by the financial person. It even could be a CEO that has no idea even how a mold's made. So
Mhm.
they want to go and understand your workplace culture. They want to understand the process. And those are all, you know, ways to get in front of more eyeballs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Gartner has a report that came out this summer. 83% of B2B buyers now prefer doing business online. Millennials, and even us older folks, we don't like
Yeah.
picking up the phone anymore. It's like, gosh, could I just have this information? Now we've got a couple more great comments here. So Dan says, yes, the process is just ask. Now I'll tell you, Damon, I don't know if you've been following Bonnie's posts.
Yep,
Again,
I have.
Bonnie's posts. So she's doing an amazing job. I have samples right here of our dear friend Bonnie with her
Yep.
little gold lids. Damon, you got your gold lids right
Mine are
there.
back here. Yeah.
This is phenomenal. And I never thought of this. I just want to share real quick. She's getting reviews from folks that are disabled, or I think,
Mhm.
and what they're finding, like parents are reporting on how, like, kids that are disabled are now able to use her product. What a great emotional story, because now she's not just solving a problem, she's like making a bigger difference in society here.
Yeah.
And so, now somebody says, let's see, consistently, and of course your biscuits,
Your
that's always
biscuits
a
came
great
up
story
again.
there, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so let's dive in. So all right, manufacturers out there, storytelling sounds great, Gail. Man, I don't know if I can sit here and type out a 300-word blog post, or, like, what are some strategies for manufacturers that are not, hey, Gail, I didn't go to journalism school like you did. How can I get those stories out there to stop being the best kept secret? Any advice for folks?
Well, there's a couple of things. Now, one is you can seek out how you can hire someone. You can hire someone to work in your company, or you can seek out, consultants. You can seek out support people. I usually come in and help more from an overall strategy perspective. So to answer that exact question is, where do you start? Because a lot of times people, they think, oh, should I be on all platforms? Where do I start? How do I start? So I usually come in and help with
Mhm.
the overall strategy. Now, someone like Inger works with me as well, and also has her clients working with coaching to get people on LinkedIn. I do recommend starting LinkedIn as your, like, if you do nothing else, make sure you are on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And she's had phenomenal success with getting people to understand, get their page optimized, and then just do, even if you do a post once a month, do a post
Mhm.
times a month. There's the recent stat has just come out. 5% of people are posting on LinkedIn. So that means that there's a whole lot of other people just lurking and watching. And your competition is likely not anywhere near
Right.
doing anything. And if they are, well, you better take note.
Right.
The good thing is, and I've said this for a while, the bar is still set pretty low in manufacturing.
Yes.
So just again, start. And it, we bring in people to help with accounting. We bring in people to help with IT. You bring in people for human resources, but people think, oh, well, I have a computer and I can type, and it's like writing, right? I mean, my area of specialty is in that, because of my journalism background. I also am very good at how to write a news release, how to do public relations, and how to position your messaging. So this is something more recently I've started doing, even outside of manufacturing, is helping people develop their messaging. And like my son, right? Like that's a really good example, is no official name.
Right.
They just need help because they're like, oh, I don't have a name. Yeah, you do. And oh, I don't have a story. Yeah, you do. Everybody has a story. In all my years as a journalist, I'll tell you, whenever I went to interview, everybody has a story. You just have to tap into it.
We're dropping the mic on that one, Damon. We're just dropping.
Everyone has a story.
We're just, Gail, it's lunchtime.
Yep.
We just need to savor those words. Okay. So
don't even have to say anything there.
Let's do a couple recaps here. So this has been phenomenal. And think about the manufacturer out there. I don't know about you, like Damon, I had a wholesale business 100 years ago, in my 20s. And like, my buddies, when I'd answer the phone, they're like, dude, like you sound like you're mad, manufacturers who kind of have like that MO of like, hey, Joe's metal bender, like it really, those days are done. Like you need to have stronger customer service. You've really done an amazing job, Gail, talking about knowing your customer. Ingrid dropped a note, know your audience. Damon, we always like calling them soulmates, know your soulmate. Mm-hmm. Gail, how, what do you advise your folks for, like, how do you really take that deep dive to understand your customer? It's that entrepreneurial curse. I can solve everybody's problem. Anybody that needs metal bent, I can bend it. Anybody needs a circuit board, I can manufacture it. How do we help those folks like stay in their lane, know their audience? How do you help your clients? Because I know you're firm. Like I love working. Like you're like the hard coach, right? You're not like the good cop, bad cop. Like you'll play firm cop when you need to. How do you help those people stay in their lane?
I think the question was how do you find your audience, right? Like so
how do you help people stay in that lane so you're not like finding your hey, let's go in this let's hit this industry, let's go over here. Like how do you help people like really stay focused, knowing their audience?
Well, number one is write it down, but the other thing is look at your current clients, your current customers, and where are you getting success? Where are you? And I don't just mean financial. This can also be, who do you like working with? Because sometimes you can have a big ticket client, but they give you so much grief, so much stress that you have to decide, is it worth it? And then sometimes they may, not pay their bills and you're chasing them down. And so it really comes down to finding that combination of, people that you like working with. And then in terms of what is it they need? Well, ask them too. And I think people don't think to ask, like either ask your clients and customers, what benefit do they get from you? And, also what questions do they ask you? And I say this in the sales world with manufacturing, is that when you're at a trade show or when you're on a phone call or someone reaches out to you by email, what are the questions they're asking you? And I've even asked the salesperson, send me the questions. And it was interesting. A lot of them were very similar. A lot of them were really simple. So if those are the questions getting asked on social media, getting asked in email, just do a post answering that simple question. And so, as I said, a lot of times my role is just to help more facilitate and guide people because they know the answers. It's not like I have to go in and they're the experts. What I'm the expert at is helping them clear away. Now, here's another analogy that I have. I have a woman that comes and helps me with organizing. And we've transformed one of my rooms it was a wardrobe room. Now it's like she came in, she had a vision, and I have now all my clothes are hanging. It is life-changing because now when I go away or I'm deciding with her, I can see everything in one room. Right. So this bedroom's now been converted to my wardrobe room. All my shoes now are on one big wall of it's actually a former bookshelf, has all my shoes. So but she's an expert in that, and I've learned. I have a bookkeeper. Why do I have a bookkeeper? Because she tells me stuff throughout the year. Okay, you're a little high here, you're a little low here, you can spend more here. And we don't go to find experts in areas that we need help in, and it pays dividends.
Right. I absolutely love that. And so Bonnie drops a note. It's okay to say no if it's not a great fit. I'm going to be mindful of everybody's time. We're going to start winding down here. Customer service, like I said, so it's a little bit, again, for manufacturers, they have, maybe half a, small manufacturer might have half a dozen customers that they're used to dealing with, maybe 10, 20. And again, like, that real buttery customer service wasn't kind of like in their MO, like I said, like kind of the answering the phone thing. What advice, suggestions you have for manufacturers of like really stepping up their customer service game? Like, how do you give that, like that, when you had your bed and breakfast, the biscuits, like that extra touch, you did all sorts of different things. As manufacturers, we typically didn't have to do that. What are some suggestions, advice you have for customer service strategies to really give them a competitive advantage? Because odds are their competitors are not.
Well, this is where, again, doing some research, asking clients, what benefit do they feel they get from you, and listening to them. And then, there's some basic things. People like to be appreciated. So send them a note of appreciation. People like to hear from you, not just when you're trying to sell to them. Back in the day, I remember when insurance people used to send out birthday cards to people. I remember suggesting this back when I worked in insurance. They didn't always want to listen. I'm going, you know what? Getting a birthday card, like, especially now, sending out a birthday card, people would be thrilled and actually maybe have it signed by a real person, like simple, something. Again, we want to overcomplicate. We want to get the big giveaways. And often, even when I'm at church, as I said, instead of just, the massive junk that people are going to take home, I said, think about your top level customers and giving them a targeted gift for them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to have your brand all over it. Because think about, if you give them a gift, they're going to appreciate, they're going to be thinking of you when they are opening that bottle of wine, or when they're like, so make it more personal. And just, also make sure your staff are also trained properly. The gym I go to, I can't believe that. I love the gym I go to. I'm going to shout out to Movati here in Windsor and in Canada. Yeah. And one of the things they do, when I met with the manager, she was amazing. When I walk in the morning at like 5:45 for my first class, there's someone at the desk saying, good morning. And when I leave, they say, have a good day. Yeah. All of the instructors, I don't know. And it was interesting. I asked the manager, I said, by the way, everybody here, like your staff are amazing. She started out in custodial. Yeah. She knows, and the gym is spotless. So she's worked every job. And I think that's really important too, is looking at your staff and investing in not only the people you're trying to sell to, but your staff are all your best marketers, your best recruiters. And that's a big part of customer service, is making sure you treat your staff well. And it's not always about money. It's about, saying thank you. The many times, like, I've had a boss or someone send me a note of appreciation. Wow. That's very powerful.
Man. Okay. That's Damon. I think that's number 3. If I'm anybody out there keeping track of the mic drop moments right there. So that was, I want to recap that real quick. What's the line? How you do anything is how you do everything. How you answer the phone, how you respond to the email. Bonnie says, response, timely is a big factor. When somebody sends you that email, obviously they send it to you for a reason, need it quickly. So again, a lot of those super simple things, right? KISS, keep it super simple. A lot of those little things go volumes. Before we close out, we got to give a shout out to our dear friend, David Chrysler. Let's talk about processes. I know you're really digging deep. You're super excited for 2023. That's why we're having you on here today, coming into the closing out the year. Talk about, I'm like, that when David's around, man, I like pen is in hand. I'm like just a sponge. The guy is absolutely brilliant. Talk about like what he's done for you, or just processes, what you're excited about for 23.
Well, Dave and I have been having some regular chats of late. I remember hearing him, I think on your show, Damon, and I thought, now there is someone who simplifies process. Like, because process always seems like no one wants it. It's like, you don't want to start it. David makes it interesting because he kind of is that motivator, and actually says like, no, what you're doing, like, just use a spreadsheet. Like he doesn't feel you always have to do the most complex, kind of like what I believe in, start where you are. Right. And the other thing I want to say is this Wednesday on my show, David is coming on at 1 p.m. Wednesday. I'll do a little plug here, because we're going to be talking, and since we're winding down here, we're going to be talking about just that. As near the year's end, instead of getting stressed about process, everybody wants to start everything new the new year. We're going to talk about what to do in terms of process and planning as we head in towards the end of the year, giving ourselves grace at times. So yeah, no, David is, and David we're going to talk about his new project. And yeah, he offers such great information, inspiration, and yeah, keeping it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple. All right. So I want as we're man, Gail, I could keep this going all day. So first off, everybody in the chat box, please connect with each other because man, everybody on here is just so gifted and so amazing. They bring such incredible value here on LinkedIn. I'll tell you, like you guys just enriching my life. Did I say that word right? Enriched. I don't, whatever it is, man. I just feel so blessed to have everybody in this chat box. David, Whitney, Bonnie, Ingor, anybody, Diane, Janie, all of you are just so amazing out there. I wanted to take a step back. On that customer service, I'm out yesterday. My daughter calls me. She's like, "Where are you?" I go, "Why?" She goes, "You just got a package and I want to open it." And I'm like, "Well, who's it from?" She's like, "It's somebody you do business with." And I'm like, "Well, go ahead and open it." It was like amazing, incredible cookies. My daughter was like just on cloud nine. Do you think like that brought some like loyalty to me when I have a happy wife, happy daughter? Do you think that really? So that was such an amazing, incredible, classy touch. But it could be just as much like writing a note. If you're manufacturing, you're sending off a pallet of something, put a little note. "I hope you have an awesome day today." I mean, what a shocker for somebody in receiving to get, "I hope you have an awesome day." Right, Damon?
I'll take it one further.
Please do.
You're sitting there working with your clients and you're finishing up with them. How hard is it to say, "You know what? I really enjoy working with you."
Yeah. Yeah.
I really enjoy it. And give them a couple why.
Right.
I mean, just tied into you've thought about this enough to really make a difference.
A couple why? Is that what you just said?
A couple whys. Why?
Wine? Did you say
No, yeah, no, not a cup of wine.
A couple of why.
A couple of why. A couple whys.
Right.
Whys, because why do you like working with them? I like it because it's challenging. I like it because we get to solve things, and I like it because we're in this together. Whatever it is that you like about it, but that is that consistent thing that you can tell them.
Right. The thank yous, the smile, just these little things,
all adds up.
and it's funny, like what a little thing can take. So, all right, guys, we covered so much today, man. This was just a master class. We've talked about like, a recovering journalist that's turned into this curiosity queen.
Yep.
We've talked about a new network, GNN, that's coming out in 2023. You heard it here first, Damon. We got an exclusive. We've talked about
drop on the GNN.
Manufacturing.
Write it down.
We've talked about storytelling and how powerful that can be. We gave a shout out to Dave. Boy, I'll tell you, guys, follow David Chrysler on LinkedIn. His videos are top notch. His posts are top notch. And of course, we've got Gail now Wednesday at 1:00 Eastern time. They're going to be geeking out, just taking this process strategy even further. So, Gail, as we wind down, I asked you, who was your hero growing up? I'd like to ask you, coming into 2023, boy, we're at holidays, New Year's, it's like opportunity for fresh starts. Who or what is your inspiration closing out 2022, coming into 23? Who or what is your inspiration?
Well, there are a few, but I'm going to give a shout out to someone who has been a very special part of my work life, but also personal life at times. And that is Inger, because Inger has been someone who, she has her own aspect of curiosity, and it's been amazing to see her growth as well in terms of what she's doing and how she's able. And, going back to that good cop, bad cop, a lot of times she's the more gentler, kindler coach when it comes, whereas I'm like, okay, here's what you need to do. I'm going to tell you, just sit down and listen. So that's why I said I'm more a strategist. She's a true coach. Yeah. So I would say she is someone who has often asked me some really good questions at times to help me think. Because, as much as I'm curious asking other people, sometimes I need help pulling those ideas out of my brain. And so.
Boy, none of us can do it alone, right, Gail? It takes a village. It takes a village to raise a business. And boy, we're out there, just everybody's working relentlessly. And if I'm not mistaken, when you had that fun jam session that you did, I think, was it back in the spring? I met Ingor, I met David Chrysler. And so thank you for all the amazing people that you've brought into my life. And just this LinkedIn world is just such an enormous, incredible blessing for all of us. Great shout out or inspiration for next year. So, all right, Gail, any parting words of wisdom, anything that you want to share with the folks as we close out our day today?
No, just that I encourage everyone to be curious and not judgmental, and to think about, what can you get curious about for 2023, and also to give yourself grace for the rest of this month. That as we lead in, not everything, I've done that with myself. Like, I don't have to launch everything at the beginning of January. I can launch it when I'm ready. And I encourage other people too. Sometimes too, it's just starting that process. And that's what David and I are going to talk about. It's very meta, because we're going to talk about that and how to plan for year end in a way that can help you enjoy. Because I think with everything happening in our world right now, we have to find those hope and joy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love, and so as we close out, I absolutely love that, Ingor. Thank you, guys. All right, man. Oh my goodness. Parting thoughts, and that was another moment of silence, Damon, was like grace. Give yourself a little grace, and just, everybody out there is working relentlessly, giving 100%. And sometimes, boy, when the day's not going quite as you hope or expect, boy, be a little forgiveness to yourself, a little grace to yourself can go a super long way. So, hey, it takes a village here, right?
Yep.
Collaboration. That's
a lot of collaboration. So, hey, guys, you are not alone wherever you are. There are awesome people in this chat box. Please connect with everybody. Most importantly, connect with our rock star guests today. So everybody, if you've been hanging out in your seat, maybe it's time to give a little stretch, but go ahead, stand up. Let's give Gail a massive standing ovation for just sharing her passion, her expertise, your experience. Gail, you are such a blessing to Damon and myself. We love you. We adore you. It's such an honor being in your circle. You just spread positivity, energy. Your enthusiasm is just off the charts. And so thank you for what you do for manufacturing. We wish you, your family, just an amazing, magical, wonderful holiday season. I know you have some travel plans coming up, so we wish you healthy, safe, and just full of love through the month.
And a margarita.
Good tequila.
So, all right, guys. We're gonna close it out. So, hey, my last one is our dear.
Yes,
in for the win.
You know what? I want to thank. If I can say this, I want to thank both of you for all that you do as well. Because when I think about your show on Friday and everybody that you've helped get connected, it helped us all connect. And I definitely love when I can fill in on your show, because it's very fun and always cool people. So thank you.
Well, we're looking forward to Big 23. So, guys, have an amazing rest of your week. We're back here. Damon, we've got Damon Faces of Business every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. We have Chris Harrington in the house on Friday from Gen Alpha. Man, we're going to be geeking out hard on e-commerce and all sorts of fun things. Damon, Chris said we need to dress up for Christmas Friday. I just want to give you a heads up. So, I'm trying to grow the gray beard just for the occasion.
The ugly sweater coming out.
The guy might have the ugly sweater coming out. So, guys, have a great day. We'll let you run. Gail, thank you. Hang out with us for 1 second. Have an awesome week, guys.
See you, everyone.